How's it going? I'm Andrew with Investors Hub, and happy June, everybody. And we're kicking off June by talking with Ted Ohashi. It's Ted Tuesday, and we're going to be talking to Ted about the cannabis industry. He writes the Cannabis Report for Investors Hub, and we're going to be chatting about some of the companies that are in his model portfolio, which is in that publication. We're going to be chatting about Lexaria and Khiron, and we'll also be talking about how the cannabis industry will change as it grows. You know, what circumstances will change and things like first mover advantage. So yeah, if you like the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube stuff. It helps us grow. Be sure to share it with somebody that you know. And after a quick disclaimer, we'll hear from Ted. Please note that our videos are not designed to be direct investing advice. We're here to gather the perspective of different investors. Our channel and our content should just be one stop on the journey of trying to find out where to put your money. So when or if, but probably when, cannabis joins the pantheon of recreational luxury substances here in the U.S., what kind of industry do you think that it would be comparable to?
Well, I think it will be a little bit unique. When I look at, say, the tobacco industry or the alcoholic beverage industry, particularly tobacco is an industry that's been killing its customers. Whereas I think cannabis has the opposite effect. It makes people feel better, cope better, and also has numerous medical applications. So I think the medical side of things has been underestimated pretty much from day one, and probably still is. I think that's going to be a huge industry, particularly when we turn the scientists loose and let them examine some of these, I guess they call them active pharmaceutical ingredients in the cannabis plant. I think there's over 100 of them, of which so far we've only done work on two, CBD and THC, and maybe two or three others to some degree. So I think it'll be kind of a different industry than what we're accustomed to.
So how do you see the maturation of the cannabis industry as it grows and becomes a more and more legitimized business? Are we going to see maybe 2 or 3 large cannabis distributors dominating the whole market? Or do you think that it's going to stay kind of local and artisanal?
Well, I think both. I think that some of the larger companies are going to emerge. If we look back at the American auto industry, for example, back in the 1900s, the early 1900s, there were 2,000 or 3,000 car companies in the United States. And by the 60s and 70s, there were the big three, Ford, GM, and Chrysler. And so I think that's going to happen in the cannabis industry as well. Who the winners are, I don't know, but it certainly looks like the guys that are big now are just going to get bigger. I think also there's going to be an artisanal business. Health Canada has issued mini cultivation licenses. So these are for people that, would be the equivalent of your artisanal beer makers or winemakers. And they don't have to meet all of the very stringent requirements of the very large operators. So I think there'll be that side of the business as well. And so, yeah, kind of like big and small at the same time.
So in the markets, I've heard the idea of the first mover advantage, right? If you're the first one into an empty space, you have the advantage of being able to set up your production and set up all your branding. And a lot of the companies that you advocate for or that you have in your model portfolio are first movers, right, in their field. They're breaking into a completely new sphere. But do you think that those first movers are going to be able to hold up against the big giants whenever it becomes legalized? So is the first mover advantage going to be big enough that they're able to compete against, say, a large tobacco company deciding to switch some of its production into cannabis?
I think so. I mean, if you look at, say, the tobacco industry, when the tobacco industry started, it started with growers. And it quickly evolved into sort of a branded consumer products business. And that's what I think will happen to cannabis. I've said for the last 5 or 6 years that in the cannabis industry, I don't think you want to be a grower. Growers tend to be at the bottom of the totem pole. So whether that's in the tobacco industry or in the coffee industry or the sugar industry, in coffee, you don't want to be somebody that grows beans and sells them for $4 a pound. You want to be somebody that takes the beans at $4 a pound and sells coffee for $5 a cup. So, I think that's the direction it's going to go. Ultimately, I think the larger cannabis companies will recognize that, and they'll get out of the growing side of things and leave that to specialized cultivators. And those specialized cultivators won't necessarily be located in Canada or the United States. I mean, if you gave a sensible person the right to grow cannabis and asked them where they'd like to do it, it would probably not be in Canada, which is covered in snow for half the year. It would probably be a country that's closer to the equator. And so, I think the major companies in Canada and the United States will eventually get out of the growing side of things and focus on taking the plant and converting it into branded consumer products, branded medical products, excuse me, and other value-added products like that.
So have there been any interesting developments in your model portfolio?
Well, quite a few. I mean, we talk about Khiron a lot, but the company reported their first quarter results. They were pretty good, and they indicated the way through for the balance of the year. Cannabis sales are now up to 45% of their revenues and growing. And Europe is now up to 10% of their cannabis sales and growing. And so, there's a company that is evolving quite quickly. We've also talked a lot about a company called Lexaria. Lexaria has a technology. They got some absolutely astronomical results from their recent study on the delivery of CBD into the bloodstream. And they're now working on a test that will address the use of CBD in hypertension along with their technology. So if they get good results from that, it could be explosive. But there are always things going on. And, that's what makes the industry so exciting.
So you've expressed to me in the past that you stand by the companies that are in your model portfolio, right? They're in there for a reason. You're a family man. I respect that. But are there any companies out there that you may have flirted with in the past or that you're thinking about flirting with now to put in your model portfolio that aren't in there now?
I'm always looking for new ideas and new areas. I came close in the last 6 months to acting on distributors. Distribution is it's a little bit more like merchandising. Once you're licensed and once the rules are known, then, it's really a skill more like being a department store or a purveyor of merchandise rather than a cannabis company. And I think there's tremendous opportunity there because I do think it's something that is going to spread throughout the economy. More and more people are going to use it. I think we'd all be surprised if we knew people in our circles that are using it. And so that's one area I've looked at. That also brings you into the realm of multi-state operators in the U.S. I've acted on one, I guess, which would be Juicy. which is doing a tremendous job in terms of expanding throughout additional states in the U.S. And so, yeah, that's certainly an area of interest to me.
So, any final thoughts?
No, this morning, Canopy Growth reported, and that's got investors in a tizzy again, and that group of stocks is selling off. The licensed producers have really been an up and down story this year. They do something and their stocks go up, and then they report earnings and their stocks come thundering down. And so it's been volatile, and it's an area that I've completely avoided, and I'm glad that I have, and I'll continue to do so. But that is the news of the moment, if you will.
Do you have any positions in the companies mentioned?
No. Again, just for disclosure purposes, I don't own any investments in any of the companies that I talked about today.
Hey, thanks for watching. And if you didn't already do it, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It means a lot to me, helps the channel grow. And you can also follow us on Twitter, IHub_Vision. And I'll see you again soon.